10 professional tips for painting owls in watercolour. Owls are such beautiful birds and they make ideal subjects for watercolour paintings. In this video, I'm going to share 10 of my top tips for painting owls like a professional. Hello, I'm Paul Hopkinson, a wildlife artist based in Devon here in the UK. I love to teach my realistic style of watercolour painting both here on YouTube and in my online school. Today's video features a stunning tawny owl and I'm going to share 10 of my top tips for painting any owl in realistic watercolour. Let's get started. My first tip is to try and choose a background that will complement the main subject and won't distract from it. I'm working with lemon yellow and sap green and I'm blending the background out to the white of the paper. The colours are fresh and immediately put the owl in a woodland setting. And we've got a little bit of time to adjust this, but not much. So sap green, a little bit of that in there. I need this to blend. I really want it to blend. And we're nearly there. We don't need to do too much more now, so it's starting to dry. The more you fiddle, the more problems you'll end up having. My next tip is to focus on the owl's standout feature, the really big eyes. I like to paint them first as I have them to look at during the remainder of the painting process. This also enables me to reassess them as I work through the piece and I may adjust them as I go along. Leaving gaps in between. Same on this one, nearly dry around the area, it'll do. Just adds a bit of colour in there. Even though you can barely see it, it's going to be there, isn't it? It's going to be there. Now, what I wanted to do as well is lift off a few little details. Now the side's dry, got into lifting paint off, I can very quickly take that off the paper. So tap, 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 and lift. Now we've got that highlight there. There's also another highlight just inside the eye there, I can barely see it. So again, go over the same line time and time again, and then lift. Oh, that's not quite enough. A little bit more. That's got it. And we can always tone it back down again if it's too much. Thirdly, think about their other obvious feature, their beak. I often work on this next. It's important to paint the beak as realistically as possible. The shape is of course all important. You need to get the hard, shiny feel to it by using a range of colours and the building up of layers. I'm going to tone it, tint it, whatever words you want to use. And then just reinforce the top of the beak area. And we've got to look at the overall shape now. And then just fine tune the shapes that you can see. Keep washing that brush out, you can hear me doing that. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want to be moving too much paint around while I'm kind of fine tuning stuff. And my eyes are constantly flitting backward and forward to that reference photograph again. But you know that anyway. Next, as with any bird, building up the feathers so they look soft and fluffy is really important. The foundation wash needs to be carefully chosen for the detail to then work over the top. Try to look beyond the obvious feathers to those that are underneath the surface and use this as a base tone. So I'm going to do the same now for the rest of the bird all the way down. So as I say, just add the colours where you can see them on the photograph. But don't go mad with it, don't make it too thick. I'd rather you have the colour too thin, so very pale to begin with, rather than too rich, if you know what I mean, so too colourful. And that way, at least that way, if you make a mistake or happy accident, let's get it right, then it's very easy to correct or cover up if it's lighter. I'd rather work with a few more layers of paint than just try and put a couple of layers on and find out I've done it wrong. Owls differ from other birds as they have very obvious facial eye discs. The direction of your detail within them needs to be spot on. The feathers will radiate through like a 360 degrees around the eyes. Don't have them exactly straight, so they're far too parallel. Curve them, overlap them, but gradually work your way around in a circle. See what I'm doing there? barely touching the paper, curving, overlapping, and look at some of the lines. Some are only very tiny, very short in places as well. So again, it's all about looking at that photograph properly and really studying it and looking into all those little details within it. And down the side. Now don't forget, this is now 2 layers of detail. We'll be adding another darker layer over the top, and then on the top of that we're going to be using a little bit of watercolour white. So all this will kind of give that effect of deep feathers. Start pulling out some of the darker marks that you can see. Just down to here. A few more around there. Now, like on here, we've got this little patch. And I can just see where that goes around there. Okay. The next thing to think about is to vary the colours that you use within the feather layers. Part of each layer will show through in the finished piece. These variations in colour will then give a varied colour to the finished bird, which looks much more realistic as well. Don't need to go too mad. Remember, you don't want to blend it away. You just want to just soften it down just a little bit. That's all then ready for the next layer of paint. Okay, right. So the final layer for the top of the head is going to be lamp black and burnt umber, which is that one right in the middle there, as you can see. Right, so again, remember to load your brush, roll it, then dab it on some tissue, like so. Just taking the residual paint off, and then we can make a start on this lovely detail. Here we go. So I'm going to fill in the middle of the head area first. I'm going to leave some gaps now. So a few gaps here and there. I said just around there actually. So I'm not too worried about where the white goes, because that'll be going over the top of this anyway. But we want this mixed, as I say, to a creamy consistency, more black than brown. And this will start to darken the sound now, which is what we need to do. Not filling it in completely. And I'm trying to do all my brush strokes in the right direction, the direction I can see the feathers going in there as well. There you go. And to the top of the head. Just a few more just there. And then start working your way around the top. So you can see I've filled that in. But we'll just need to leave gaps here and there where we can see some of these feathers, as I say, shining through. Well, not shining, but you know what I mean. Now, my 7th tip is to define individual feathers as you work on the later layers of detail. In the case of this tawny owl, they are very dark anyway, and so it was easy to do them as one of the last layers. So those really dark areas, that's where you'll add that in. Now where the beak comes down, we've then got a bit of a gap, and there's another section there. So I'm looking at the length of the beak coming down. We've got one section there and one below that. So it's going to mark that in. It's a bit of a curve as well. I'm doing it by small tapping marks as well. I don't want to make it too obvious. Not at this time. Until we know it's exactly right. Or near as we can get it anyway. And then that section there, and there's another section just to the side of that, just to here. Tap it. And create that kind of shape that you can see within it. So you have a little bit of an arc in this area. So again, I'm looking at the photograph, really looking deep into the photograph now. I've got it zoomed in front of me, just so I can see all those details. Have you noticed how the feet on some owls can be very different and also very feathery? Small birds have feet that tend not to be feathery, and I do have a playlist on painting them, which I'll pop in the card to the top right hand corner for you. Like with the beak, work on increasingly darker layers to create the right effect on the claws. And then match up the feathers on the legs with those that you see on the body. Because there's no rush for doing a painting, is there? You should never rush it. Now into the blacky brown colour. Another layer, which is going to look even darker now. Make use of it. And the same around here. Just a few here and there. So that's now starting to shapen. A little bit more around there, because it's nearly black in there, isn't it? Sometimes it's worth just filling it in and just pulling off a little bit of paint once it's nice and dry though. It has to be really dry before we pull the paint off. So you can do it that way around as well. Now our owl is nearly complete, so my 9th tip will be to add some highlights which will really bring your work to life. I use opaque white. You could alternatively reserve the white of the paper with masking fluid anyway. Or you could lift off paint with a damp clean brush. Okay, I'm looking at the angle of these now as I come down towards the top of the beak. Oh, love it, love it. Put a few more there, I get carried away, you see. There's nothing wrong with that, it shows you enjoy what you do. And then, just some more around there, I keep running out of paint. I don't want to add too much, as I said though, even though it looks like you're putting a lot on, it is drying fairly quick. And all these colours and detail are still showing through underneath. That's what I want it to do. It's a little bit brighter around this section here, but I'm not going to just paint it all in. Do this with lines, leaving gaps in between. Go over the same area again. You can see that's gradually getting brighter, but yet you can still see those gaps. And you can add a few brighter ones here and there around the top section there. And there we go. So that's really just one side. Now this is duller because don't forget this has to be quite white at the top. Just a few now over towards a brown band in the middle. And then we're ready to kind of continue over the top on that one then, aren't we? Finally, putting the owl within a scene obviously works well. However, you probably don't want the scenery to detract from the owl itself. Try to marry the colours from the bird to any wood you are painting. I do this by making use of a lot of the colours that I've already got mixed up within my palette. Right, now for the detail work. Here we go, you ready for this? Now my brown has dried up a little bit in there, which is a burnt umber, so I'm going to just steal some of that. I'm going to pop it into the olive green, just to dullen it down. That's a bit better. I might put a little bit of sap green in there. So sap green, olive green, and just a touch of burnt umber. I need to make plenty more of this, I think. It's always wise to make more than you think you'll need. Right, so using that colour we just mixed, which is quite creamy in consistency as well. Here we go. Right, so what I want to do is do the usual sort of squiggles, which I've been doing. That's a bit more paint on the brush this time, Paul. Let's be daring. So I'm squiggling left and right, up and down, creating texture, but deeper texture this time round. Like so. Just get some more paint. The same again. Really want to get some texture going in here. Some more detail, and you know, you can add as much detail as you want with anything like this. Hope you found these top owl painting tips useful. Which will you be using in your owl painting from now on? Leave me a comment down below. I'll see you in my next video, which features painting the stunning eyes of a barn owl. I'll see you there.